Welcome back to the HGC Western Clash Grand Finals, where currently Zealots finds themselves 2 games up over the one that Team Dignitas had. But Team Dignitas, that one that they had, was not actually won in this series so far. It was gained because they came in through the winner's bracket finals. And because of that, there's a lot of momentum riding now for Zealots, having won 2 series before. But as we were talking about, it's also battlegrounds that were very Zealots favored.
Yeah, it is maps that are Zealots favored. And Dignitas, you know, not too big into Volskaya, not too big into BOE. So all the maps are kind of remaining. It's not that if they're Dignitas maps, some, you know, can be, but it's very much that for these first 2 losses, I don't kind of panic as much as I would with others. But I am more panicked about Stukov. When we saw Zelia perform on it, when we see Zelia perform on it compared to Shad, not the impact that it has, but the survivability of the hero and how vulnerable the positioning is. It just seems like Zealots understand the functionality and the positioning far better than Dig. And that pick deny strategy we see on the back half of the draft that they keep using, I don't know if Stukov is an option to use as a, we'll get in on Zelia, and then suddenly that's away from Shad.
Well, as we are checking out to see what the next map will be, we see a change-up of strategy. Team Dignitas are going to pick Battleground. They've had enough. They don't want to go to what would probably, almost certainly be Sky Temple if Zealots had the pick.
Yeah, their best map by far, and I think this is one of those times where it's finally time to take control of your own fate in a little way. Instead of going for that first pick, get that Battleground. Go to something that you're more favored on. And guys, looking at this series, the #1 thing that I said that was Zealots, it was for them to take the fight and to be able to stand their ground and fight against Dignitas. And now in 2 games, it's not that they have just out-macroed. They've literally stood their ground, taken the fights, and they are beating Dignitas. That is something that I did not think I would say coming into this tournament. Even after week 5, I feel Dignitas would have shored that up. But Zealots somehow has the key to victory so far.
Big part of that key has to be Michael Udall, the crowd, because every time Zealots gets a kill right now, even against Dignitas, who last year was the crowd favorite too. The crowd just goes wild.
Yeah, I mean, playing in front of the home crowd definitely is an advantage for, you know, these players. And one thing I really want to know is game 1 I feel like was a little shaky for Zealots. Yes, they won, but they definitely weren't leading the entire game. I feel like Game 2 was kind of the opposite. I feel like Zealots was leading the entire game. There was a little bit of a mishap, you know, in the mid to late game, but then they still were able to, you know, win a 19-20 fight and just end the game off that. So that second game makes me much more confident in Zealots moving forward.
What was interesting to me as we watched was where things seemed to start to unravel maybe for Zealots is when Chris got picked. And we know with the kinds of compositions that Zealots runs, Chris has to be protected. He has to be playing on point. And when he started popping off in that fight at the end, you could tell that everyone rallied behind him. So we'll see what Chris gets to play here on Infernal Shrines. But it being Shrines, it could be another Grey main maybe.
I mean, I am curious, is Maiev going to come here for Zealots? I mean, Blaze is up, right? That is kind of the obvious. Zarmany has been doing so well on that hero. But Maiev, I mean, she is very strong on this map, and that I think is what they're questioning. Is that Blaze more important than the Maiev? I mean, because if you do pick Maiev, Dignitas almost surely is going to go Blaze Tyrael. Okay? They think the Maiev is more important, which I think on this map, you can make an argument for that you're forcing them to come into a choke, right? It is a very small area where Warden's Cage gets so much value. I would expect to see Team Dignitas respond with a Blaze Tyrael, though.
It's not immediate.
I feel like the Blaze is 100%. I don't immediately pull the trigger on the Tyrael. I don't think it's poor by any means, but I guess the Blaze I feel like is just, there's no way you can give that over to Zealots. And I almost so much so that I would have liked to see Zealots maybe prioritize that higher. It's just, but that's also because Zarmany is just so dominant on the Blaze, and this is a map where I can see Blaze gaining a lot of value, not only onto the shrine itself, but just the control over the map. It is going to be full commitment, Tyrael Blaze.
I think that's the best interest right now for Dignitas. Oftentimes we'll see them maybe commit a little bit to a Tracer style, a little bit to the way that they want to adapt to the map, and a lot of it is around that Tracer. We've known that to be there, but when that's taken away and then you can control that front line, this is similar to what we saw from them earlier, running the Tyrael Blaze themselves. It's something that it gives them frontline control, and then they can stabilize whatever they want behind it because that control is so strong with JPL and Wubby on that front line. This is reminiscent to their series earlier against Tempo.
I mean, the Stukov factor. I feel like Zealots are almost certainly going to pick up that Stukov in the 2-3 because I don't think there's any way Dignitas lets it through the second ban phase. Just, how powerful Shad is on that hero, as well as, it's a very good counter to this Blaze Tyrael composition, right? They need to get their ultimates off, and if they're silenced, they can't use their abilities, right? You can't use Sync, you can't use Bunker. So I would like to see the Stukov. It combos very well with Maiev, just being able to drop that circle down in the Warden's Cage, and it is going down to the last second. Gul'dan, Stukov, the Gul'dan pick, it's very good shrine clear for the side of Zealots, allowing them to get those in, Punishers.
It is a very vulnerable pick, though, and that's something I think Dignitas, when I see the Gul'dan, I would like to try and capitalize on. They already have Blaze and Tyrael, so it's not like they can adjust the frontliners and the gap closers to try and punish it, but Tyrael, Blaze both are, generally speaking, good enough to be able to get onto a backliner like Gul'dan.
We saw ADRD play Maiev
yeah.
earlier, and a lot of teams have not had the multiple Maiev players because it's such a new hero, so they've kind of had one. So the Medivh is a little bit of a surprise to me here.
Me too.
For Zealots, I gotta imagine this has gotta be a Junkrat ban.
I really don't like that Medivh ban coming out. Okay, J-How spot on with the Junkrat ban, but I really don't like that Medivh ban coming out for the side of Dignitas. I generally feel like there is one main Maiev player for each team, right? And I feel like if Zealots did end up going for that Medivh, yes, it gives you decent disengage, but your composition is so fragile. You have a Maiev, you have a Gul'dan, you have a Stukov, you have a Medivh, all heroes that need help, right? They need support. And yes, Medivh would help bring that for some of the other heroes, but I just feel like it'd be easily exploited for the side of Dignitas.
Is there something that Dig wants to pick here that is just so crucial that Medivh needs to go anyway?
Maybe Kerrigan.
I know one thing that they've done, that Zealots has done, is by picking up that Gul'dan, it's a denial towards Dignitas as well. So you take away two of the priority heroes that you would generally have on Infernal Shrines if you're Dignitas, if you don't have that Tracer available, and now you fall back to the Greymane, to the Tychus, things like that, that might not necessarily be able to get to that backline and might be a little bit more vulnerable to the Maiev composition. I mean, you get Maiev pulling people in and you get a Horrify, that is terrifying.
It is. Very much so. I'm sorry, I'm really distracted on how do we get onto the backline. Dignitas, it has to be focused on initiation. Stukov and Gul'dan both hate getting initiated on. Almost every composition Zealots drafts, generally speaking, wants to be the one opening and is very, very weak. Not very, very weak, but definitely significantly disadvantaged if they're the ones opened up on. Uther and Genji are going to cater to that play style. But I'm really struggling to identify, is that enough, right? Like, I'm trying to rack my brain, like, how many different ways can we find a way to capitalize and punish this? Because if you even slip for half a second, there is a Cage, Gul'dan, Horrify, and then the Stukov will be able to survive over that duration of time, then follow up and you're just dead. And I don't know where the breaking point is, to be honest with you.
I feel like Zealots, they're one of these picks. If this is an ETC pick, I feel like it's going to force the hand of Dignitas into that Tychus, which it seems like that's likely going to be it. Maybe we get that ETC to follow up on those cords, on that Umbral cord. They come in, you tether them in, you get the slide. We've seen that, but there's so much that we've seen from Mopsio so far, whether it's the Garrosh, whether it's the Diablo. It's everything that he picks is going to be a little bit terrifying.
I mean, the Uther factor as well, like going into a Gul'dan that is not an ideal matchup, and they do end up going for that ETC, like you were saying, J-How, a very solid pick, and Mopsio has been very proficient on that hero, as well as Leoric. I would be very surprised if Dignitas doesn't pick up the Tychus, like you were mentioning, to just shred that Leoric, but I want to focus on this Uther, right? Uther is really strong with the Genji, right? The Dragon-Bladed D-Shield is just such a scary combination, but you're picking it into a very strong sustained comp, right? Like Gul'dan is one of the highest DPS outputs heroes into a bunch of melee, right? And you already have 3 melee heroes with the Uther, the Blaze, and the Tyrael. So I think if these fights go long, that favors Zealots like heavily. Maybe not anymore. They have Hanzo, very strong poke. I mean, he does bring decent Shrine Clear on this map as well. Q build is a big way to steal the Immortal Punishers as well.
There's a lot of things to say about this. There is Maiev coming back in, still having a Medivh ban, even though we had seen ADRD play the Maiev before. The denial of the Blaze by Team Dignitas, as well as the Tyrael, so those were 2 big picks for Zarmany. Having Chris be on a Gul'dan this time, it's less of the flashy Greymane. Where's the breakdown for you? Where are you feeling right now, looking at these 2 drafts, J-How?
I'm not a fan of the Hanzo pick on Infernal Shrines. I haven't been for a while, and statistically, when we looked at this, Hanzo, one of the highest win rates in all of the world throughout the first phase that we had. sitting somewhere around 60%. On Infernal Shrines, it was like in the upper 30s. It just doesn't have the same effectiveness. When you look at the scatter arrow, it's hard to find that, which is why we see the explosive arrows at level 4. It's more team fight oriented, and they don't have a ton in the way of shrine clear, I think, with this composition. And then how do you get more out of Hanzo's kit if scatter arrow is just hitting stuff in between?
Okay. It's time. Predictions?
I mean, my issue with Dignitas' comp is it feels like you're kind of going for a dive, and then you pick Hanzo, and Hanzo doesn't go along with that dive. So 3 times in a row, Zealots have not let me down yet. I'm going to vote for them again.
Not being a Tychus pickup and ended up with Hanzo, I feel like that is a conversation that could go on way too long. So I'm just going to say Zealots. I like their draft way too much for this battleground.
Dignitas have to find a way to get pressure onto a backline. So much so that I almost would rather them Judgment. Honestly, dive onto the suit off, not be the ones opening with the initiations. That being said, I don't even think that solves this problem. I feel like the only thing Dignitas has going for them is it's one of their favorite maps. And other than that, it's going to be a very difficult game. And I'm scared, so I'm going Zealots.
I feel Zealots led that draft from the beginning, and whether it's momentum or whether it's having Dignitas figured out at this point, it's hard to decide, but my vote's for Zealots too. And the chat has been more and more on Zealots' side as this grand finals has progressed, and it stays there for now. Let's see if Team Dignitas can turn that around as we head over to Kaldor and Trixler for the next game.
The Zealots seem to be winning the hearts of everyone at home. Have they won your heart yet, Kaldor?
They definitely have, but I can't believe that we're sitting here and we're looking at a panel that completely votes in favor of the Zealots, and the crowd is also favoring them, because that was not what we headed into when we came to the Western Clash. Now, on Infernal Shrines, to the left, we have again ADRD on Maiev, Zarmani on Leoric, Mopsio on ETC, Chris on Gul'dan, Shad on Stukov. Ladies and gentlemen, the Zealots!
To the right, in the red, Wubby playing Blaze, Poik on Hanzo, Snitch on Genji, JP on Tyrael, Zelia on Uther. It's Dignitas!
Dignitas definitely needs all the fan support that they can get. There's even a corner, the official Wubby fan club, and he really needs those voices right now. We have on the left side, once again, Shad on Admiral Gonzalez. By now, he really made a name for himself with this hero.
That he did, man. Chad has been a big name this weekend, constantly being talked about. Great in interviews and great in gameplay so far. But Dignitas, I don't think I'm ready to write them off here with this composition. I actually think Hanzo can be pretty solid against a Gul'dan or a Stukov, these characters that don't have that high mobility.
And here comes the first tether, a bit of aggression. Immediately the silence is there, the lurking arm. But this time Dignitas gets out scot-free. So we had a bit of a break, and I actually met Zelia during the break, and he was just talking about how he feels he makes a lot of misplays right now. He was very, very unhappy, and he said he doesn't really know what it is, but he just doesn't feel it. And I said, dude, like, chill out. Like, I need a bit more positive spirit from you. He's like, oh, don't get me wrong. We're immediately going to turn it around now, but I still think that I really played bad the last few games.
Dignitas seems to fly on the old lady. Stat.
Yeah. Very, very self-critical here, but he said from the get-go, just wait, we're coming back. This isn't over.
Well, we're going to watch as that pans out here. The Hanzo does move into the Star Bow build here, moving into Qs. Already some harassment on the right side for these mercenary camps. So Dignitas is working on the macro here. They don't seem to be two-phased too much, sticking to the game plan.
And I also like that we have on Zealot's side, we've been talking about Dignitas, but let's talk about Zealots and their damage dealer. We have Chris this time on Gul'dan, and he's been talking a lot about how a lot of people apparently feel he has a limited hero pool right now. They have been very straightforward with the way they've been drafting, putting him very often on the same heroes, but he has been really itching to show off his mage heroes more and more, and now we have him again on Gul'dan. And once that Maiev gets the cage later on, or even just a simple Leoric Entomb, you can get so much work done once you have Ruinous Affliction, once you have the Echoed Corruption quest completed. So this is a scary draft that the Zealots show here.
I am really terrified for when post 10 gets here, because you're completely correct. The Warden's Cage into a silence from Stukov, and then if they even try to escape, you have the Horrify to follow up. It's a lot of chain CC.
It definitely is. But let's also talk a bit about Dignitas. The opening they used here is the same opening they used against Tempo Storm. They went straight up for Blaze and Tyrael. And this is such a successful opener into the draft. This combo at the front has been insanely powerful. Tempo Storm was destroyed by it, and Zealots also won one of their games against Tempo Storm later on by drafting this in the initial rotation.
We'll see if those bunkers will pay off for Dignitas as well as Sanifications. And one of the issues that we had last game for Zarmony was he was unable to get those Sanifications off. And there isn't as much disruption as we had last time. Cocoon made it much easier for Dignitas to stop that Sanification coming off. It'll be much harder to stop that here for Dig.
Can I also just mention how much Mobsio really as a player at that frontline impresses me right now? I mentioned it on the analysis desk before, but a year ago he was a huge liability for his team. Oftentimes too aggressive. He always was trying to make the plays and he was just way too offensive, a bit out of position, got punished for it. And he has come such a long way since then. And it really culminates now in the performance that he shows here at the Western Clash.
Do you remember that on Nubarak, man? That, like 6 times in one game. Whew. But Mobsio definitely improving. But I think part of that too is the team has found out how they want to play around their tank play. They have really came to a consensus of, okay, if Mobsio goes in, we're going to follow him up. And that teamwork has allowed him to be much more effective.
Yeah, and look how effective they are right now on that first objective. They are definitely going to get the Punisher. Of course, also because Dignitas is giving it up. They're not following in yet. They want to wait for the later stages of the game before they really commit to them.
Okay, Zealots gonna push this Punisher down here towards the south. Shad already preemptively dropping down the silence. Wilby comes in from a flank just to try and get that back line to back away so his team can focus on clearing out this Punisher. But Boyk on the back left actually harassing ADRD quite well.
Yeah, and right now, talking a bit about Team Dignitas, who's going to be the one player to step up? Who's going to be the one who really makes that play that they need to come in? And at this point, Boyk is the one who's in trouble because the silence was spot on, but he barely gets out. Well done. ADRD is running away with Mayev, barely keeping himself alive here. Huge aggression from both sides, and it's Chris who finds himself in a really lost amount of trouble, going down the initial kill, and Snitch is trying to make it a double kill, and Shad is low. Shad is down as Dignitas leads with a double kill.
Well, there's your answer. Poik and Snitch gonna step it up. Poik being able to sneak on by on that bottom right side, jump away with the natural agility, and then Snitch coming in and positioning himself in a patient area where he can wait for the Uther stun.
And I can't believe that he survived. Hanzo goes in and immediately Shad is ready with a lurking arm more or less behind him and zones him off. And Poik's like, uh-oh, but able to get out. Not able to get out is Zarmony up at the top lane because this is Dignitas coming out swinging.
After a break with 3 kills here in the first 5 minutes of the game, and with a shrine spawning soon, Dignitas moving towards that level 10. They are starting to get a smidgen of a lead here on their opponents in experience, but still, Zealots hanging in there despite the 3 kills.
Yeah, Zealots definitely looking strong, but still, I love that Dignitas, you know, they come out and make a statement. They lost 2 maps just now against the Zealots, and that of course negated the advantage that they had coming from the winner bracket. They started into our best of 7 with a 1-0 lead, and now they find themselves behind. But they go into game number 3 on Infernal Shrines, and they get their kills right away. Another one, racking them up now. Gul'dan falls once more, and that's the 4-0 lead in kills for Team Dignitas.
I actually stand corrected here. The turrets on the bottom right were just enough to give Zealots that lead in experience, but the kills are starting to make it a little bit better here. With 4-0, Dignitas finally opening up as well. Zarmony and the top lane got these turrets at the same time, so we're sticking neck and neck in experience as Dignitas and Zealots move towards 10.
Yeah, Dignitas has definitely found their rhythm in the early game, but we have to remember the last 2 maps. It was very transparent on Volskaya, where one single win in a fight, in a team fight, allowed Zealots to go for core. And it was pretty similar on Battlefield. Dignitas was pushing, was a bit too far out, and then Mobsio finds the target, and Zealots move across the map and end the game. So if they have shown anything here, then it is that their shot calling in the late game is absolutely on point, and that Mobsio will find opportunities to turn the game around.
Both teams at any point can light up. They are both playing on point right now. And with the Shrine activating soon, we have our 10s. We have Sanification coming up for Dignitas and the Bunker, that combo that we've talked about all weekend long.
And Mobsio is going to complete his level 1 talent now. He's going to complete Prog Rock just in time for the Shrine. So that's another little power spike here for him that really is going to help him out. Here we have it completed roughly 7 minutes in, and now both teams have their heroic abilities, and this is going to be an important fight over the second objective of the game.
Yes, I'm very curious to see how this team fight unfolds. So far, when watching Wubby on Blaze, he's been able to get important picks. It was important against Temple of Storm when he got the huge picks on Glarong on that Zeratul, the preemptive jet propulsions. We'll see if Dignitas can get those here against Zealots as that Shrine finally does activate, and Dignitas is instantly here.
They are. And ADRD is now attempting to move in here as well. Out is Mayev. Chris already in the back. He had a lot of trouble so far, stacking his Echoed Corruption on level 1. Only 5 stacks. This fight here could really help him towards that goal. But JPL already at the front, creating some space, pushing them back, and then using the Druid's Might to safely retreat.
Dig having the lead, and ADRD wants to fight. He goes in for the bind, drops down the Warden's cage as well. Mopsy on the right side, ready to power slide in.
And here comes the Dragon Blade once again, horrified on the ground. But the Divine Shield, Zelia with a play, and ETC is trying to create some space for them, but it's a double kill against Zealot that starts this fight off as Dignitas takes down Leoric and Maiev.
Maiev a little too far out there trying to force that fight. Mopsio couldn't come in because his invocation was being down, and then with Golden dropping the Horrify, he had to escape away.
But it was so awesome. The Dragon Blade comes out and then the Horrify is being used, but at the same time, the Divine Shield hits, and all of a sudden Genji says, all right, I got this, boys. Goes in, and they start getting the kills in with Hanzo firing from the back. Now, once again, 6 kills against 0, and we have the Punisher.
Zelia worried about his misplays earlier, but here he's going to land the Divine Shield. Sanification and the Dragon Blade being just enough to Horrify into the Divine Shield right away, and Snitch steps up, gets a couple of swings, and is able to grab kills.
Yeah, absolutely well played. Yeah, that was fantastic, and you pointed it out, the Hanzo arrow as well. Just on point. Maiev down and Leoric, and there was just nothing left for Zealots to do. The Punisher goes over to Dignitas, and now they push it forward to a level 13 talent that will in few seconds be in their hands, and 6 kills to 0. Zealots haven't found a kill yet, and we've been talking all day about how frightening their composition is.
Things will get a little bit better, though, for the Zealots as we move towards that level 13, that level 16. First off, Leoric. You've already talked about it in the past. We always talk about it. But also Goldan as well, being able to finish off that Runic Affliction at 16. Right now, only 9 stacks on his Echo Corruption, but that damage will spike up and scale well to late game.
Yeah, he definitely will, especially, of course, with Ruin's Affliction, as you said, and once he gets the quest. The problem is, he has a really rough time getting these stacks in, because the fights have been very intense and very short, and now we have another one potentially starting here. Horrify being used, the Bosch is in play. Zealots are back to the game. At least it seems so, but no, Dignitas goes in once again, and they are all of a sudden pushing the Zealots back after a great initial start for the blue team.
It feels like the Zealots are wanting to fight no matter what. They seem to almost disregard talent advantages, going in for that engage, had a solid mosh pit, but the actual sanification and, of course, the bunker being just enough to keep them alive. Actually, Sync wasn't even used. The bunker was just enough to allow Dignitas to escape.
You're hitting a really good point here. Zealots disregard talent advantages a lot, and interestingly enough, they really make it work.
Yeah.
It's just the timing that they have with their engagements. When they jump on one target and try to blow it up so fast that the talent disadvantage doesn't even matter. But Dignitas is slowly picking up on that and is really doing a great job of pushing them back here. And it's again the combo with Tyrael and with Blaze at the front, the constant shields, the threat of a sanctification, and Blaze with the bunker that keeps them alive. This is why this combo is so insanely powerful, and Dignitas had great success with it, and now Zealots are struggling against it too.
It just shows that Zealots have no fear against Dignitas, which could be a power in itself. Chris, however, taking a lot of poke here on the left, has to escape as Wilby goes in for an engage, but ADRD, perfect vault away.
Yeah, ADRD doing a great job here, but as you said also, Chris is oftentimes the primary target here, and Dignitas is getting the aggression done. They're pushing them back once again. It's about map control, it's about mercenary camps, and the Zealots have done a great job grabbing those, so Dignitas will have to deal with it. But the problem for the Zealots is still that they haven't found a kill yet.
They've had good setup, but Dignitas so far great on the defense with a mosh pit available in about 18 seconds and a shrine popping up soon. Zealots will have a chance to get that first kill in the game. And with 16 right around the corner for that Ruin's Affliction, I'm expecting Gul'dan to finally secure one at some point. Shrine will be activating in about 20 seconds, and Merc Camps are the name of the game for our teams.
Yeah, and let's not kid ourselves. Maiev is fantastic, but they need a bit more than only her, and that's where Chris comes into play. And this is why he really needs to get those stacks in. We have another shrine activating. Dignitas, they will not be able to rely on the level 16 talent yet. Zealots are forcing this quite early. ADRD already around to the top. Blaze and Leoric still in play. Here comes the tether and the silence right after it. Great job once again by Shed cutting off the path of retreat. But Mopsio has taken a significant amount of damage. Here comes the arrow. Chris eats it, but immediately healed up by Shed.
Yeah, hoping to get some more damage on Gul'dan, but Chris able to escape for now. Zelia on this top right corner, and with Leoric finally back in the fight. Ominous Wraith will be great. Mopsio goes in for a mosh pit, but the cleanse just enough here, as it looks like at the same time, though, Sanctification is going to have to be used, but it got interrupted, so Divine Shield will be popped to keep him alive.
And as we have the cleanse coming in, Maiev pulls the target back in. The cage also had to be dropped as the Zealots are retreating. But this fight is all over the place. Here comes the Entomb, but Snitch escapes immediately. But this is Chris starting to dish out some solid damage.
The bunker down, Tyrael jumping in, as well as Blaze. You're gonna have the sounds come out. Wubby goes out. There's gonna be a Sanctification right away. Zarmi and Mopsy on the top right, kiting backwards. This fight is a bloodbath. It's so back and forth. Massive shove coming out, and Team Dignitas gets dissuaded from the shrine.
There are just so many tools that Dignitas has to keep their setup alive. Once the bunker is down, the Sanctification comes through. The Divine Shield is there when the on-point damage is hitting. Mopsio even didn't get real value out of the mosh pit. At this point, Zealots are just desperately looking for a kill, but at least they secured the Punisher. And that helps them to get level 16, to move through the bot lane, and it's also an Arcane Punisher to boot.
Yeah, they may have not gotten kills, but they've won the Punisher, as you mentioned, which gets this keep wall maybe a bit more if Zealots can force the issue. Entomb is up and available, and that's one of the main engages that Zarmi can force for his team.
Look at the 16 for Gul'dan. He didn't go into Ruinous Affliction. We have him with the Rampant Hellfire. So he's going instead into the Fell Flame talent on level 16, trying to stack that damage up. Another nice shot from Shad. No chance for Wubby to make that engagement happen. And Wubby was hoping for that flank and to initiate the fight.
Can Shad do no wrong? Wubby coming in there to force a 2-3 kill, but the massive shove gets Wubby away from the fight, which allows Zealots to continue their push, and that will net them a keep.
Yeah, once again, Wubby is going in, but the keep, as you already said, is down. And here, Admiral Gonzalez once again with a massive shove. JPL is down. Tyrael is dead. And now we're having again Zealots starting not only to take their first kill, but they just took the first keep again.
The first kill and the first keep, it's all you need if you're able to push on forward. The control a little bit too much here for Zealots, and Team Dignitas once again finds themselves behind.
It's just insane that every time Zealots win something, it has a massive impact. They don't get a kill for the first 13 minutes of the game, and then with the first objective they win, they immediately snowball it to a keep, get a kill, and take control of the game again. Just look at the experience advantage that they just netted themselves.
And this gets worse too at level 20 with a Silence Entomb. Stukov, you have double the silence available. You have a Mosh Pit popping in. ETC has many options to move in for the engages. Team Dignitas will have to be on point with their defensive abilities, and they have Divine Shield, they still have Sync, and they have Bunker, but it will be much more difficult.
This is getting absolutely ridiculous. This is just, you look at the game, and no matter what Dignitas does, it seems at the end of the map, it's always Zealots winning one fight, getting one kill, and ending it. We're not there yet, but this is really already something that I'm concerned about just watching this. Dignitas was dominant coming into this.
Yeah, they were, but Zealots have found their stride, and it's really paying off for them this weekend. And with the Shrine up and soon, we're going to be having our teams move towards level 20. It should be up before that 20, so Dignitas will have one more chance to fight before their opponents get that advantage.
Zealots are already painting the map blue again, going for another camp at the bottom. Dignitas themselves, or Zealots, are doing that. Dignitas is trying to get the experience here, but it's pretty insane. It's really amazing. It's absolutely stunning how the Zealots perform here. They were so inconsistent at the beginning of 2018. They needed time to find their rhythm, and you really could tell. They've been talking about it too. And they just said, hey, we want to aim for the mid-season brawl. If they can go to the Western Clash, that's fantastic, but mid-season brawl is the goal. And at this point, it really looks like the sky is the limit.
The sky seems to be the limit, but don't count Dignitas out yet. I know we're down the series at 2-1, but there is definitely still a chance. This is a Dignitas. We've seen them week after week deliver victories, and they can certainly get one here. One level away, the Shrine still has not activated, so it's looking a little bit worse for them here, as Zealots might be able to win that Shrine.
You know, there's one point that we raised with Tempo Storm earlier. It's always easy to make it happen when you're winning, to have that team dynamic, to have that synergy, and to really carry the momentum. The important thing for a lot of teams is, how do you handle losses? How do you react when you're all of a sudden on the losing side, when the momentum is turning against you? Who's stepping up? Who's the shot caller? Who's the person to really say, okay, I'm going to take responsibility right now, and we're going to make the plays together? And Dignitas has to find it now. They have to find somehow a way to turn the series around, and Zealots is not making it easy.
Dignitas at least is prepping the map. That'll be helpful for them. Clearing at the top, getting that pushing soon. Zealots doing the same, so they should be able to defend that. 19 and a quarter in experience. If you're Dignitas, do you take that moment now? Do you go for the fight?
I feel old Dignitas would have done it. Pre-Western Clash Dignitas would have definitely done it. But this series, this is the question. Do they have the I mean, do they just simply have the confidence to go for it right now? Look at the Zealots. They're actually starting to sneak around. They want to go for a Fnatic call here and go straight for the core.
At least get the experience too. That might be their main goal here with the most lanes pushed out. They were unable to grab that 20, so they get the 3 minions there.
Leoric shows in the middle. And Blaze is also dancing around, hiding in the fog, now finally showing Whoopi is there, and here's Mopstio, and that's immediately, that should be a dead Blaze. They let him go for now, but now they can make a move for the core if they wanted to, and if not, then at least they force Dignitas back and will allow Leoric to
arrow.
make the stacks.
Gul'dan has been stunned. He's getting low. JPL's coming in. Look at Snitch as well here on the side. Shad still has that massive shove. Will he be able to land on a target that's coming in? Chris getting healed up, but Chris, he gets choked. Dignitas finds the kill.
Dignitas goes in, they find one kill. Do they find the second?
That's
No, and he goes down. Leoric, on the other hand, is still on the shrine. The whole idea here for Zealots was to either go for the core or at least force a B back so that Leoric can, in the meantime, take the shrine and the 20. But Dignitas have not lost Whoopi. He survived the gank, and now they turn it around.
Dignitas has bought their way back in the game. You're right. Whoopi staying alive, using that bunker was just enough. And Zealots didn't do enough. Only 21 on those minions for the shrine, so they were unable to finish it off. And Dignitas gets back in the match. And guess what? The top lane is still pushing in as well from the Merc camp they grabbed earlier.
But let's not forget that the Zealots haven't lost the fort yet. So this is still a pretty slow push, and that will allow Gul'dan and ETC to come back in time to battle it out here with Dignitas. But Zealots a little bit sloppy on that call at the bot lane, so they didn't really respect the rotation enough. Dignitas played it well. Whoopi survived, that was absolute key. And now Zarmani needs to make sure that he doesn't die, and he dodged the arrow just barely. If that arrow connects and Zarmani dies, they are in trouble.
Zarmani living here. Arrow is down, keeping focused. Dignitas, will they aim to grab more? This Punisher is pretty healthy. Jumps on top of Mobsteel. A little bit of poke there from the scatter arrow, but Dignitas dancing with fire here.
Gets bait into the middle. The camp, in the meantime, we've been mentioning it earlier, has taken the top lane. Once again, here comes also Gul'dan with the damage output. Dignitas is looking to see if they can maybe get another kill, and they're going for Mobsteel, they're going for ETC. They're trying to get him, but ADRD is ready and uses the tether. Once again, bunker on the ground, as Dignitas is starting to retreat.
They have to. Catapults are on the bottom lane. They're getting close to the core. They'll be hitting pretty darn soon. So Dignitas goes to the limit in terms of time there and trying to see if they can find a kill. It does not unfold the way they would like to, so now they go back for defense. And the shield will take a little bit of damage, but should be cleaned up by Genji and Team Dignitas. Looks to paint the map red.
Huntress Shadow Orb now on the side of Maiev on 20. And of course, for Leoric at this point, it is buried alive. The extra silence that you can now utilize is what you need to take Hanzo down, to eliminate Genji if you get the opportunity. Just shut down their mobility and take them on as fast as you can. Chris, by the way, we talked about it, he has a rough time with his level 1 talent. He sits at 22 stacks 20 minutes into the game. His Echoed Corruption really not coming through. He went for a bit of a different build on level 16 with a Rampant Hellfire, not going for the traditional Ruinous Affliction that we oftentimes see. But he's still able to get a fair amount of damage out. But of course, him completing his quest cell would mean a lot for the team.
That it would. Team Dignitas harassing a little bit here in the middle. That perfect agility available for Hanzo, having the 2 natural agilities, so he can be a little bit more bold with his movement, being able to jump out of a fight. And Dignitas backs up after a little bit of a poke.
Also, let's talk a bit about Hanzo here. Hanzo, played by Poik, has 61,000 damage. Just to put that into perspective, when we're looking towards the opponent's team, towards Zealots, ADRD and Chris with Maiev and Gul'dan have 28,000 damage against heroes. Meaning that Hanzo has twice the damage output of the 2 of them. So we are currently looking at Poik just being in that safe space where he can just create intense amount of damage because he has the front line with Tyrael, with also Blaze, and also Genji, creating so much havoc that nobody's really paying too much attention to him, and he can just shell away throughout the entire fight. Jump in with his mobility, jump out again. He's playing a fantastic game here.
Zealots are trying to force a fight. ADRD comes in, cleansed by Zelia at the last second to make sure ADRD does not pull him in. JPL harasses back on the side a little bit, and a holy shot comes out. Will Snitch looking at Zarmani.
Once again, Zarmani is eating some damage here, and every single time we have Hanzo committing to even more damage, getting the kills through the scatter shot, of course, as well. We're waiting for that next objective to come online, and this game is really, it's going to be decided in one last fight. Both teams have lost the keep right now. If one team fight turns this around, game will be over.
Speaking about the next objective, it's actually to the very top, which is troublesome for Dignitas with Catapults pushing on the bottom lane. Zealots have an option to do what they did on the last shrine. Maybe feint a bottom lane push, pulling Dignitas back.
And they are already starting to push out the lane, so that makes it even more dangerous for Dignitas. Even setting up a bit of a trap in the bush, but of course, it's immediately getting double-checked by Whoopi. And yeah, it's scary. Especially since Zealots have been taking fights all game long, so they might even be willing to simply fight over the bot lane and say, let's end this in a team fight.
They're still thinking about it too. Zarmony having that on Tomb. ADRD can also force the engage at any point if Team Dignitas were to overstep. They are spreading out as much as they can to make sure if Zealots do come in, they're able to back up. Power Slide comes in and Mopsio misses.
Yeah, Mopsio misses, but so does the engage. Here comes the arrow. They're going in, the cage is down, but Chris is in trouble. And there's the death of Gul'dan as Dignitas goes in. The mosh pit though, the mosh pit of Mopsio. They take down Tyrael, but they also start to lose out on Stukov. Leoric dies, and we have Snitchta shelling away together with Poik. The brothers are at work here as we see ETC fall a quad kill as Dignitas is moving towards the core.
The timing of the Sanctification and the Divine Shield allowed Snitch to pop off in that fight. Sanctification initially to allow the Dragon Blade, but the Divine Shield to make sure that haunt that came out of Gul'dan did not connect with him. And Team at Dignitas cleaning up 5 will move towards the core, and they're going to get themselves back in this series.
They just lost 2 in a row, and it looked rough for a period of time here on the third map as well, but Dignitas comes back in a great team fight where they are able to take out the damage dealer on the side of the Zealots right away. With Gul'dan down, they clean house, take everybody down, go for the team wipe, and finish the game. Team Dignitas tying this series on Infernal Shrines.